whether or not an officer saying I'm an officer is sufficient to say that you're fleeing versus not being in a marked car, not being in a uniform, not showing badge. I mean, I think it's an awful. I mean, you have to make your argument. You have to protect your record for your client. I never guess anyone's second guess anyone's litigation strategy. It is what it is. You know more of the facts than I do. Where are you, Mr. Batar?
I am in a parking lot in downtown Detroit. Out of Frank Murphy a little while ago.
Uh, I see tall buildings in the background. You know, out here, the tallest things are the motels. Other than that,
There- that's the old police headquarters behind me.
mm, 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 mm. When they start making Greek town,
Which Dan Gilbert is still
start heading
trying
out
to
down there.
redo and turn into something, I think.
I think that's what happens when you own 60% of downtown.
Yep, I'm looking at a new building in front of me that has the elevator towers up. And another building in front of that with a crane, and then there's he's got a lot going on down here.
I haven't been in downtown and I can't even tell you. I gotta think about that for a second. Not for any event, not for dinner, not for it. Yeah, but it's so many great places.
It
to go
has
downtown.
it's changed a lot in the past 20 years. I remember I was a law clerk at Bank One downtown in 98 and 99, and there was nothing going on down here. And the difference between then and today is just amazing.
When I was a brand new attorney at Legal Aid Defender, when I got off of work, you went home. There was nothing. There were the two Coney Islands, but other than that, there were a couple of dive kind of places, but you weren't, that was not a destination place. It was, I'm trying to think, they hadn't even moved the gym theater yet to start on Ford Field. That came a little later. They worked on the casino, so they were starting, but it was still, you're getting in your car and leaving. You didn't see people
That's
making the trek down there.
That's right, Judge. And what you said is true. There, my office was, or the Bank One, which is now Chase Bank headquarters. There was a Coney Island across the street, and that was about it.
It's amazing how time flies. And when I do go down there, I can't find my way around. I used to know all the streets and how to get here and there and everywhere, but then they closed off. They made it into that park on the side of KMAC, and I can't think of the name of it. They put up barricades and stuff, so you can't even go from.
That's at Woodward and Jefferson. You used to be able to turn off of Jefferson onto
Mhm.
Woodward, but now it's blocked off. You can't.
You could cruise around the block if you were picking somebody up from City County building. Now you have to go down and around and.
That's what I used to do: drive in circles and avoid the parking authority.
I used to go down there as a little kid. Well, my aunt was the corporation counsel. She worked in the First National building, and their parking was inside of the building, not underneath it. You pulled into the building and you drove up
Yep.
a ramp from the outside. You couldn't tell that it was parking. So we
Yep.
would park there, walk over to court, watch her in court. When I was a little kid, I thought that was the sweetest thing in the world. First National building is still there. I haven't been in it in 30 years at least. No reason to, but the bank
There's
that you're talking about, I banked there when I was working down there.
Yep. The First National building has an excellent restaurant on the ground floor, Central Kitchen and Bar, if you're ever interested in that.
They had a guy who was a shoe shine guy, and my aunt was with the suits and the heels and everything. She would get her shoes cleaned by him, repaired by him. He had the little stand, and he would snap the towel and light the polish on fire, the whole kit and caboodle. I think it's fascinating watching those shoe shine people. I mean, that is a true art form.
I used to have the guy in the basement at K-Mac shine my shoes once in a while,
Hmm.
but I don't think that's there anymore. At least even before the pandemic, I don't know if he was there.
Uh-oh. He looks so serious. This is 220260FY. This is State of Michigan versus Andrew McKenzie. May I have your appearances, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. Sonoma CC on behalf of the people, P83923.
Good morning, Your Honor. Earl Washington, Neighborhood Defender Service, E31383, on behalf of Mr. Andrew McKenzie.
And sir, would you state your name for me?
Good morning, Your Honor. Andrew McKenzie.
Thank you.
No problem.
Mr. Washington, you already know what I'm going to say. I'm sure.
Yes, I understand, Your Honor. And after you say it, I'll explain.
Okay.
This morning.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You-
and I had some, couple of Zoom hearings. I did call the court. I called the court before 9 o'clock, and I did receive another call. So I guess that message wasn't conveyed. But
Your message was conveyed to me. And the issue from this court's perspective is that there was a hallway full of people here for a 9 o'clock case that is starting at 10:29 a.m. Your client is here, and I already talked to Mr. McKenzie, not talked to, but I advised him that you were on your way, that you were going to be late. I don't hold it against him. I'm here from 8 to 4 anyway. It doesn't matter to me. It's just, it's a respect issue. And although we have a lot of Zoom still going on, I think organizing your schedule and prioritizing is so important, especially when you know someone's here waiting for you. And that's the extent of my lecture. That's it. You and I have had this conversation about timeliness before, and it doesn't help to continue on. You may be seated. I'm sorry if I thought I said it. The only issue that this court has is that I have a gentleman in custody at Wayne County. I'm waiting for paperwork to come up from probation. Once that paperwork comes up, I will stop these proceedings to get to Mr. Lyon so that Wayne County can be released and get back to what they need to do.
There's one other matter. I do want to speak briefly with Mr. McKenzie to see whether he wishes to hold.
Absolutely. You need to speak to him, or you also need to speak to Madam Prosecutor.
Well, I did speak to.
Okay.
So she indicated
Okay.
with her comment.
Oh, yeah, I heard you. Sorry. It took me a minute. You know, you hear it and it doesn't quite register. That what? I told you. No, no. I play it every day, and then now there's a Wordle Unlimited site, so it's just, I need word games to keep my mind sharp. I used to play Words with Friends. I don't anymore. There's a boatload of puzzles, and they have crossword puzzles, so I do that. I have books of crossword puzzles all over the house too. I think my husband's a nut, is what I think. No. I think that 45 years on a job is long enough.
Yes, we'll wait.
Right. I just thought, and I made my list of what I need to do, because if I have a date, I just back into that date. And that's kind of where we are. Took the flowers down, and there used to be something over in that corner.
We may have to sign something.
I know what it is, and I know where it is.
Your Honor, but please, the court, I've discussed this matter with Mr. McKenzie, advised him of his rights, and after being so advised, he wishes to waive
Mr. McKenzie, would you raise your right hand for me, sir? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Put your hand down. You heard what Mr. Washington just said. You understand you have an absolute right to have your preliminary examination in this matter?
Kind of a little bit confused about it. I'm trying to take it all in because I just don't have to even see the discovery packet. You know what I mean, it's not his fault. It's the matter of I yet to make a I've been just so caught up with this program I'm in. I have yet to even get that. So with that being said, I don't know really much about the case and what's being set against me and what's being used against me right now. So
Okay. Mr. McKenzie, if you need more time with Mr. Washington, I'm not in a rush. I've chastised him enough for the morning.
I don't even know who the I don't even, I mean, I know it's not, I don't think I'm supposed to know, but I don't even know who would be testifying against me right now. Is that, Darren, the guy that put the larceny charge?
I don't know the witnesses that the prosecution will call. I don't typically know until I say, get your next witness, and she brings them in.
Right.
What Mr. Washington has indicated is that you're waiving your right to have the examination. So my questions to you are about the procedural part of it. Do you understand what an examination is?
Not really.
It's where the prosecutor has to prove that something happened, a crime happened, and there's probable cause to believe that you were involved in the commission of that crime. That's what the exam is. Sometimes, thank you. Sometimes after your attorney has had the opportunity to review that information, he has a discussion with you and you agree, the parties agree to waive that exam, which means not hold it this morning. We won't hear the testimony of any witnesses. We won't look at any exhibits. The next step is that you will have this case would be bound over, which means it'll be transferred down to circuit court. Because these charges are felonies, this district court doesn't do felonies. We do the arraignment, we do the PCC, and we do this exam. But the more serious part of it, the trial part of it, happens downtown. Mr. Washington, as your attorney, has indicated that you will be waiving this exam and the matter will be bound over and going downtown. Do you understand that? And sir, do you wish to waive your right to have that examination this morning?
I'd actually rather probably do it right now. Is that fine?
That's the call for you and Mr. Washington. Mr. Washington,
No, I'd actually like to do it this morning. I'm the most.
Mr. McKenzie, let's do this. Let's pass this matter briefly. Mr. Washington's going to go out in the hallway into a conference room and have a little bit longer conversation with you, okay? He might be able to answer some questions for you that I can't. It's not that I don't want to, it's that I don't know his strategy. I don't know your discovery packet, okay? But I'm here. It's okay. You'll go out with Mr. Washington, you'll talk, and when you all are ready, we'll just recall the case, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Batar,
Yes, Judge.
this is 2212650M. This is State of Michigan. I'm sorry, Huron Township versus Jerry Lyons.
Daniel Batar on behalf of Mr. Lyons, Your Honor.
And Mr. Batar, you had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Lyons this morning.
I did, Your Honor.
Mr. Lyons, state your name for me, please, sir.
Jerry Christopher Randolph Lyons.
Thank you. Sir, there was a warrant issued from this court for your failure to appear with Judge Oakley. The court has now received a memo from the probation department that further details that you were scheduled for a violation of probation hearing show cause before Judge Oakley on May the 18th, 2022 for violating his orders of probation by getting arrested on March 10th, 2022 in Huron Township for a domestic violence offense.
I went to court on the 18th, Your Honor. That was via Zoom.
Mr. Batar,
Judge, Mr. Lyons tells me that he previously appeared on this case. He told me that it was April 25th. Is that correct, Mr. Lyons?
Yes, that's April 26th and 25th and the 26th. I was in front of Oakley, the 26th, and I was in front of the other judge. I forgot his name, Bradley or something, on the 25th.
He tells me that he was sentenced to 3 days jail, credit for 3 days, and this case was closed. So he's confused as to what exactly he's here for today. I don't notice any of that in the Register of Actions. I see an April 25th date, but I don't see that any actions were taken.
That is correct, Mr. Batar. And Mr. Lyons, it's my understanding that you might have more than one matter in this building, and maybe there is some confusion, but for purposes of this morning, the warrant that was entered on May 18th, based on your failure to appear, has now been canceled. Your violation of probation hearing / show cause is being reset. That date will be July the 6th, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. And that'll be in courtroom number 2 with Judge Brian Oakley. Again, the warrant in this matter has been canceled. So if you remain in Wayne County's custody, that's not about this case, it's about something else.
Okay,
And Judge, he'll have Mr. Lyons, let me speak. Judge, he'll have a personal bond, hopefully. I can tell you this, that domestic violence case that was the root of this probation violation was dismissed. And his husband, who is the complainant in that, has actually called the court several times trying to get him a bond on this case.
I've had cases with Mr. Lyons and his husband before. I understand. Bond is $3,000 personal. Again, Mr. Lyons, your next court date is at July 6, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. with Judge Oakley. Anything else, Mr. Batar?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lyons, good luck to you, sir.
thank you. You have a blessed weekend. Blessed
You
holiday.
too. Thank you.
No problem. Bye.
Thank you, Wayne County.
All right. Bye, everyone. Take care. I'll see you next time.
Yes, sir. Q. Is our 11 o'clock gonna go before 9 o'clock? At least we're done.
Harry Brown didn't go. I don't think he understood.
I know. I don't think most people understand how district court works. They don't understand that today is just something happened and you were there.
Mhm.
They think it's the full-blown trial and it's guilt or innocence, and that's why you,
He thinks that this can be used against him if he leaves, you know. Which is actually better for him. to wait.
it depends, always depends on the charges. And that's why I say, I don't see the discovery. I have no idea. All I know is that these are the charges and these are the consequences. I don't know the details of it. There's nothing in the file usually, so.
But they don't want to do it.
I know, that's why I don't look back there. So yesterday, I was telling Marianne, it was a basketball game at Romulus High School. Jason Otter did a great job. And there was some guy there I didn't recognize who Carolyn told me that was Jason's brother, maybe?
A teacher there?
Hmm?
I think he's a teacher at Romulus High.
Really?
Yeah.
So you have and Steve Hicks was there, so you have officers playing, I say
Oh,
kids,
that's
but
what it was?
they look like late teens, early 20s. We got there for the second half. I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting. Good music was playing. They did raffle baskets,
Who won?
the kids.
Oh.
But the Romulus got close. They really did. It was just interesting. It was a nice day. It was a nice crowd. Everybody's clapping appropriately, and you know.
I remember when they used to do the donkey basketball at the high school.
Mhm.
And then it got where every time they did a PETA was out there marching and, protesting, and they said, this is, it used to be fun. We used to give a lot of good laughs.
We went years ago, and I thought it was Belleville playing Van Buren, but maybe it was Fire versus Police. We were talking about it last night, and I couldn't remember. I just remember how nice it was seeing people not in uniform, laughing and having a good time
Right.
together. And it did at Belleville High, it was crowded.
I remember that. We used to do it in softball too. You do it for a couple of years, and then it's hard to get guys to play,
Yeah,
or schedules are.
I'm gonna suggest next year we do tug of war here, have the departments go against each other. And I don't know if you do a person limit or a pound limit, but I just think it'd be interesting. You can win the 34th District Court Cup,
Yeah, there you
especially if you're asking them all to be here anyway. You might as well have something interesting going
go.
on.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that donut eating contest that they had. Was that last month or 2 months ago? Time is
Yeah.
flying. It was interesting to see all those departments.
I'm gonna tell you what, we could have, if we'd have known about it in time, the court officers could have smoked them cops.
No, you didn't see this guy from Ann Arbor.
You haven't seen Kroll eat donuts. Kroll would be our donut eating machine.
This guy was taking donuts. He's a big guy, like tall guy anyway. He was smashing them up to the size of chicken nuggets and popping them in his mouth, which was a brilliant strategy.
Yeah,
I was hypnotized. I couldn't believe it.
how many do you do?
They had to eat a whole dozen.
Oh,
They had
okay.
8 minutes to eat the dozen. It was like 4 of one kind, 4 of another, and 4 specialty or something like that.
Were they big donuts?
Some of them looked like the fancy one had like stuff on it, sprinkles and frosting and filling and everything else. But the cake donuts, when he smashed them up, did the same thing with the yeast. The Romulus, I forgot who Romulus sent.
Rice.
Probably the smallest family department.
I think he got like 3, 4, 5 in, and you could tell that
Done.
he had nothing left in his tank.
He said they were so dry, you couldn't swallow.
Can you use water?
Well, only like a little bit, I think.
Oh,
They
okay.
had 1 bottle of water, and the Ann Arbor guy, he finished before the 8 minutes was up. There were other people who like just finished at 8 minutes, but he was just very casual, crushing them up and popping them in.
We're gonna get Kroll to start working on that. He could do it. You ever see those manhole cover pizzas that we get?
Mhm.
You ever seen the big ones from Tormino like
Yeah.
this? He takes 2 pieces that are this long and folds them over and half makes a sandwich out of them and eats them.
Shush.
And he can do 3 or 4 of them.
Stop. Are you
Yeah.
serious?
And donuts in the morning and donuts after. He can eat.
We went up north one weekend. We had my nephew and his friend with him. Now, my nephew's 6'10", he's a big guy. His friends with him, little kid, 5'9", 5'10". We leave Mackinac City. All you hear are bags rattling. These fools are eating sandwiches. They've gone through a whole bag of chips. We're not even an hour into the drive. I mean, we're just coming back here. We're not crossing state lines. It was the little kid. You would think it's the big boy.
He
No, it
was
was
the
the
one
little
eating, yeah.
kid. They were chowing. My husband was shocked. He'd never seen teenagers eat before. And I said, they graze. It is nonstop. You can't buy enough food.
Yeah.
That's what we should put in the contest. Put them in a police shirt and send them to them. Anyway.
We go see that.
Mm-mm. Yes, please. You're welcome, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry, thank you.
That's okay. Recalling 220260 FY, State of Michigan versus Andrew McKenzie. I already have the parties' appearances. Mr. McKenzie, you and I were having a conversation about the status of this case, correct, sir?
Yes,
You've now had more time to speak to Mr. Washington,
yes, I have.
and you now understand the purpose of the preliminary examination.
I'd like to pass on that constructive circumstance.
Sir, you understand that if the court enters the waiver of the examination, the next step in the proceedings is that you will be bound over to the circuit court in this matter. And so your waiver this morning is freely and voluntarily given? You haven't been threatened in any way, promised anything? Any objection from the people?
No, Your Honor.
Officer Brooks will come get this file. He'll bring it down to you. Both you and Mr. Washington will sign it indicating that you are waiving your right to have the examination. I see you have your piece of paper in your hand again. Mr. Washington, before you arrived this morning, Mr. McKenzie indicated to the court that he would like to travel out of state to help someone relocate. Madam Prosecutor, do you have any objection to allowing him to travel?
Yes, I actually wanted to discuss bond. There was, initially when we.
Wait
had
one
this-
second, because Mr. Washington's signing and then Mr. McKenzie will sign, and people sometimes can't write and listen at the same time. Thank you. The waiver form is back for Mr. Washington and Mr. McKenzie and now bears both of their signatures. The next step in these proceedings will be an arraignment on the information, which will occur on June the sixth, 2022 at 9 a.m. before the court indicates the bond will continue. Ms. Moisezian, you had a statement you wanted to make?
Yes, in regards to the bond, so initially when this case was up, and Mr. McKenzie was in custody, we had agreed to allow him to go into an inpatient treatment program, which I believe was called.
Hopes, not handcuffs, or
Actually,
somewhere
he went into
different?
Sobriety House, and I think it was a different program. I'm not sure why it wasn't the one we initially thought it would be. But he finished that program, and I think one of the conditions of that was for us to have been aware when and if he was going to be released from that inpatient program. I was not informed of that. I actually had to follow up with the clinic myself to just even check the status, and that's when I learned that Mr. McKenzie was no longer in that facility. Because based on my understanding is that Mr. McKenzie would have been put back on GPS tether upon his release. And the only reason he wasn't on GPS tether initially is because the hopes not handcuffs didn't allow him to have that tether. But it sounds like that's not where he was. And it was my understanding now from Sobriety House that Mr. McKenzie is in some sort of transitional housing, but that is all the information I was given. So maybe Mr. Washington could shed some light on his current situation, because I think on the people's stance, We do have concerns, of course, for the defendant leaving the state and what that would look like in addition to, you know, what his next steps are here in regards to his recovery, as well as, of course, the concerns for any sort of communication or safety in regards to the complainant. I will say Mr. McKenzie has not had any communication with the complainant, and we of course appreciate that he's abiding by that no contact order. However, I do think, going back to what our initial conversations were, that Mr. McKenzie should probably be on a GPS tether to ensure his whereabouts, especially given the fact that we weren't aware of where he was when we were supposed to be.
And, Your Honor, Ms. McKenzie apologizes for that, on the prosecutor, but he did graduate from sobriety house, transition to a program called Beginning Steps. So he transitioned from an inpatient sobriety house to Beginning Steps, where he is outpatient. He does have a fixed address. He's at 32304 Kalamazoo Court. That's in Westland, Michigan. He's expected to be there for 4 to 5.5 weeks.
It was a 6 week program. I've been out since May. I was supposed to be out May 14th, but that's a Saturday, I think. So they let me out 2 days early because I got out. This is 29-day program at Friday House. I got out 27th day, which was the Thursday. So I think that was 12. I'm pretty darn sure, or the 14th. One of the two. Excuse me, I didn't mean to say.
I'm sorry, Mr. Washington, 32304 Kalamazoo Court.
32304.
Okay.
And then after the term at Beginning Steps ends, then he'll transition to recovery housing.
Yeah, it's the same program, but it's a second step to it because there's 3 different levels to it. Right now, I'm in the 3rd level. That means I have to go to programs from 9 a.m. to 2. I'm missing programs right now, but you know, I kind of have to do that to be here. From that, I'm going to be after like May 14th or the 12th, whatever day I got out. I can't remember for sure. 6 weeks for the 9 to 2 classes. Then from that, I'm going to be going to recovery house, which is the second part of just like start being free, start getting a job, start looking for stuff. Because right now I'm concentrating on myself with the program, so that's what I'm doing right now.
What are the dates of the move?
The move. On here. It
Yes.
is, my stepmom, she needs help moving from Saturday, 28th, which is next weekend, to Sunday, 29th. She's
May
still-
28th and 29th.
Yes. Would you like the paper? Okay, let me make sure.
Where is she going?
She's moving from back up here because my dad, my stepmom, kind of separated for a minute, and now they're coming. She's moving back from Michigan down to Kentucky, and I'll be back by the weekend. And plus, it'll give me time to spend time with my dad for a minute too.
So you need to travel to Kentucky just this week and just Saturday and
Just for the
Sunday?
weekend. Yeah, I
Are you
can't-
sure?
Yes, I have
Okay.
some family up here. I couldn't afford to run away right now. I'm just saying, honestly, I couldn't do that to myself. My mom, my grandma, my brothers, my uncles, everybody's up here. I couldn't run away right now and come back and get in trouble. All it takes is a traffic stop for me to get in trouble and not have a warrant. I can get in trouble. I can do that.
Anything else, Mr. Washington?
No, Your Honor, that's the extent of our request.
Anything else, ma'am?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. McKenzie, the court will grant your request to travel to Kentucky this weekend, May 28th and 29th, 2022. You will be bound over to the circuit court. As previously charged, your current bond will continue as is. The court will not enhance your bond at all over the prosecutor's objections. I remember arraigning you on April the 4th. You are a lot different man than you were on
I
that
know,
day,
my
so
face is looking a lot
congratulations.
better. Thank you.
Congratulations to
Yeah.
the achievements you're making in your program.
I've been doing that, working out, trying to stay occupied with better things in my life. I actually want to start working here soon, but I gotta worry about this right now. But eventually I want to start working again. So I'm happy.
Anything else, ma'am?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Washington?
No,
Mr. McKenzie, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you. You have a blessed day, guys.
You too, thank you.
thank you.
Judge, I'll just need a couple minutes for the 11 o'clock. I believe my witness is here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I was gonna say, we called that Monday, right? Mm-mm. Shush, you gotta order it first. You haven't been here. Oh, forgot, yeah. Just for you. Uh-oh.
The new Supreme Court Justice, y'all were the undergrad together, right? In law school?
Yes. Oh, no. Undergrad, yes. Law school, no.
Okay. Okay.
I'm a Michigan law girl.
Oh, okay. Came back home.
Homesick, of course.
How was it when it snows in April?
You said,
It snowed in Michigan in April, the last couple of years.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. And my kid was like, it always snow in April, Mom. But it's April, it don't supposed to snow. And the prosecutor's just getting her with.
Wait, where is he going to school?
He's going to Brown. He picked Brown. He likes Brown.
Okay.
So that's where he's going.
So
So I'm just very, very happy because I have two sons and the oldest is at Yale, so he'll be at Brown. So I will be on the East Coast quite a bit.
Yale, that campus, beautiful campus, but
Yeah. It ain't nothing like yours.
well, you know, once you step off a campus, you know what the community looks like.
Right. Now, are you very active in the alumni?
I am not, sad to say. I'm trying to be better.
It's hard to be active because when you try to build your career and do everything, it's just a lot.
I'm lucky though, my classmates put together a group, and so I'm able to kind of see what's going on. People say, hey, I need help with this thing, or does somebody know somebody that does that? So that's been helpful.
Now, I want to ask you this. Have you ever went to the Harvard Club in New York?
Nope.
Okay. Because that's one of the benefits that you have, so Brown also has a club.
Mhm.
And so when they sent the information, like if I'm in New York visiting, I can get a room at the Brown Club. And I'm like, okay, that's cool.
I always think about that. Membership has its privileges, and I've not availed myself of those privileges in the,
Yeah.
what is it, 30 years since I graduated? Good grief.
What year did you graduate law school?
97.
Okay. It hasn't been quite 30 years.
Talking about undergrad, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Not quite 30, it's getting there.
Yeah, so you graduated law school the same year I did.
Mhm. Where's your client?
Oh, she's out there. I told her to come in a few minutes. She's
Okay.
with her parents.
Why would we start on time? Why would 11 o'clock be 11 o'clock?
I told her to come in.
Well, the prosecutor's not here either, so I,
Oh, she just came in.
yeah, but you come and leave, I don't know. Silly me.
Yeah, I was glad that we set at 11. That way I made do all my work. We're gonna switch chairs.
This is 220263 FY, State of Michigan versus Parks. May I have your appearances, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. Sona Mosisian on behalf of the people, P83923.
Good morning to the Honorable Court. Carla Miracle, number 62755, on behalf of Ms. Parks. Ms. Parks, can you please state your full name for the record?
Shantanique Kachana Park.
Thank you. All right, today is the day and time set for the preliminary examination in this matter. There's count 1, assault with dangerous weapon, count 2, assault with dangerous weapon, count 3, assault with dangerous weapon, count 4, assault with dangerous weapon, count 5, weapons felony firearm, count 6, weapons felony firearm, count 7, weapons carrying concealed. Are the people ready to proceed this morning?
We are, Your Honor.
Is defense ready to proceed?
Yes, we are, Your Honor.
Any preliminary matters, ma'am?
No.
Ms. Marable, any preliminary matters?
None of this well, why will be asking because Joseph Arnold is not here, those particular counts be strike because there won't be any testimony, but I guess that's not for right now. Thank you.
Your first witness, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. The first witness, the people called Brianna Boyd.
Just so the parties know, this court is scheduled for arraignments this morning. I've received a communication from our clerk that there is potential late arraignment out of Van Buren. They're working on the paperwork. So we might take a short break in these proceedings to address that arraignment should the paperwork come up while we're still on the record, okay? No. Ms. Boyd, come all the way up here to this podium for me, please. I need you to state your first and last name and then spell it.
Brianna Boyd, that's Brienna. Last name Boyd.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you much. Come up here, please. Have a seat in this purple chair. My secretary will be taking down your testimony. If she can't hear you, I'll ask you to either raise your voice or pull the microphone closer, okay?
Judge, just to clarify, the people in the courtroom, are they just family members, no witnesses, correct?
Yeah, the people in the courtroom are the children, father, stepmother, and stepfather. They are not, they should not be witnesses in this particular case because they're not res gestae, they wasn't there, they're just there to support. And if the court wants me to put their name on the record, I can.
I don't think that's us.
I didn't think it was necessary either. Thank you, though, for the offer. Your witness, ma'am.
Thank you. Can you please state your name for the record again?
Brianna Boyd.
Thank you, Ms. Boyd. I'm going to take you back to April 3rd, 2022. Do you remember where you were that evening?
In my sister's driveway.
So I'm going to have you speak up a little louder just to make sure that we can hear you. Where were you?
In my sister's driveway.
Okay. And what is the address for your sister's driveway?
6089 Colorado Street.
Is that in Romulus,
Yes,
Wayne
ma'am.
County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You said you were in the driveway. Were you, what were you doing in the driveway?
Me and Joseph, we were sitting in the car talking.
So who's Joseph?
That is my ex-boyfriend, but we still communicate and just hang out.
Okay. You stated you were in a car. Whose car were you in?
Joseph, he had just purchased a new car, actually.
Say that again?
He had just purchased a new car.
Okay. Do you remember what kind of car it was?
It's a white Chrysler 200.
And I'm sorry, can you state Joseph's last name?
Arnold.
Okay, thank you. Was anyone else in the car with you?
No, it was just me and him.
And how long were you in that driveway for?
Well, we had just came back from Ipsy, so Ypsilanti, Michigan. So we probably weren't in the car no more than like 30 minutes.
Okay. And what were you doing at your sister at that location?
Well, I was getting ready to go in the house with my sister and my nieces and nephews.
Okay. So was he dropping you off?
Pretty much, yeah.
And how was the car parked in that driveway?
We reversed in so we could see the street.
Okay, so the back of the car was facing the garage?
The back of, well, it's not a garage, but the back of the car was facing her door.
Okay. And where were you seated in the car?
I was in the passenger seat.
And where was Mr. Arnold?
He was in the driver's seat.
And when you guys were in the car for that 20 or 30 minutes, what was going on?
I think his, the mother of his child, she was blowing his phone up.
Yeah. Nothing, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do you, do you know this person's name?
Shantini,
And sorry, can you explain how you know her specifically?
well, I really only know her because we have a case together, honestly. This is my ex-boyfriend. This is the girl that he was sleeping with or messing with while we were together.
Okay,
That's kind of how I.
so you don't actually have any sort of friendship with this person?
No.
And Mr. Arnold and this, you said Ms. Parks, have some sort of relationship?
Your Honor, that causes speculation. What Ms. Arnold and Ms. Sparks have is, unless there's a foundation, how does this particular witness know? It causes speculation.
Well, the witness stated that they have a child in common, so that is the relationship. But I can move forward.
That, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
you should
that's
move
not-
forward,
yeah,
because that doesn't
it
make a
doesn't-
relationship.
Yeah. So, when you were in the car, you stated, sorry, can you state again what was going on in the vehicle and while you and Mr. Arnold were inside?
Yeah, we were listening to music, like his phone was Bluetooth on the, to the car.
Mhm.
And, I mean, she was calling and
How do you know she was calling?
because her name comes up on his screen in the car.
Okay,
And, I mean, he was just ignoring her phone calls and we were just chilling, listening to music.
okay. And then what happened after that?
Like 20 minutes later, after she was calling the phone, we looked up, literally looked up, and he was like, oh shoot, that's my baby mama.
Okay,
Your Honor, I want to object to what he said, that the cause of hearsay, what Mr. Arnold said is hearsay.
I'm not introducing it for the matter asserted. It was just a conversation that was had. It's not being, proved for any reason. Or
Yeah.
introduced for any reason in particular, showing whether or not that's actually the baby mama.
Your Honor, this is belonging to so one of the elements is, for her to say, well, yeah, that's the baby mama, it would be hearsay, guys. Technically hearsay is what Arnold said, hearsay.
Objections overruled, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, sorry, can you continue? You said that did you yourself also see her?
Yes.
Okay.
So when he said, that's my baby mama, I looked up, I recognized her. She had a scarf on her head, a jacket, like I recognized her. And he was like, she got a gun, she was
Your
gonna shoot.
Objection.
That was the
Hearsay,
first. That was
objection.
the first.
Miss-
Hearsay.
Hold on one second. Ms. Boyd, when she says objection, either of the attorneys, when they say objection, that means you stop talking, because I know you don't know that. But she'll make her argument, prosecutor will respond, I'll make a ruling, and then I'll tell you whether or not you can answer the question or continue answering the question, okay? Thank you.
What Arnold said, Arnold was not here, not gonna testify. It was hearsay, because as long as it's soft, the gun goes directly towards that was for the truth of the matter. It's hearsay, it's classic hearsay, Your Honor.
Judge, I don't
Absolutely.
disagree with that.
Objection
Everyone has-
sustained.
Yes, thank you.
So she's
we're-
gonna ask you a new question. I know it doesn't make sense to you, but
Okay.
she'll ask you a new question.
So you can only say what you saw, what you heard from Ms. Parks, okay? So when you saw Ms. Parks, how did she appear in front of you? Like, how did she
She
get there?
jumped out the car in rage, had her hand in her front pocket.
Hold on, so when you say she jumped out of her car, do you remember what kind of car she was driving?
Yeah, she had a Jeep Liberty.
A Jeep Liberty? Do you remember what color?
I don't know, it's like that blue, gray, metallic looking color.
Okay. So she gets out of the car.
Yeah.
And where did she park your car? Where did she park her car in relation to yours that you were in?
Directly in front of the Chrysler 200, right in front of the driveway.
Okay,
So we couldn't go straight out the driveway.
okay. And when you saw her get out of the car, what did you observe?
She looked mad.
Okay. Was she standing in place or was she,
No,
what was she doing?
She was approaching the car,
Okay,
but it was like she was indecisive whether she wanted to walk up to the car or go back to her car and do whatever she
Your
was
Honor, objection
doing.
causes speculation.
Objection sustained.
So what else did you observe her doing with her hands?
They was just, she only had one hand in her front pocket
Okay,
when she got out the car.
and then what happened? Did she actually approach your car?
Yeah, she approached the car, and when she went back to get in the car, we pulled off around her car, like, we had to go on the grass to get around her.
Okay. At that point, did she say anything to you when she was approaching the car?
At that time, I don't think she said anything, I don't really remember.
Okay. You stated that you drove away. Who was driving?
And Joseph,
Okay. And where did you guys go?
just through the neighborhood, he's been in that neighborhood with me for, since we moved there in like 2017, so he knows the neighborhood just.
Yeah,
as
I
much
want
as I
to
do.
object to what I don't know that causes speculation. She's testifying to what he knows.
Your objection is sustained. Thank you.
So when you were driving away, did you notice whether or not Ms. Parks also was behind you?
Your Honor, leading, it causes for a yes or no question. Leading, yes or no, ask a yes or no question.
Not all yes or no questions are leading. It's just a matter of an observation of whether or not Ms. Parks' car was behind her. Or, okay, let me rephrase. When you drove
Thank
up,
you.
did you notice anyone behind you?
Yes,
Okay, who did you notice?
Ms. Parks,
Okay, and what was she doing?
following us,
Okay, and so what did you guys do in response to her following you?
he drove faster, and
Yeah.
I just kind
Your
of,
Honor,
Hold on for a second, Ms. Marble. What happened was I gave Ms. Boyd very specific. I said, if the attorney say objection, stop talking. You didn't jump up and say objection. I'm with you, but your objection is,
Your Honor, she's testifying to what's in Mr. Boyd's mind. But she said, because of this and that. She's speculating to what he was doing and what his thought process is. She may think that she can do that, but that's not legal. It calls for her to speculate on why his certain actions, he did certain actions. It's speculation, Your Honor.
Judge, her testimony had stated nothing in regards to what he was thinking. She said that he sped up. She can see whether or not the car is moving faster. She did not say why he was speeding up. She did not say why anything in regards to what he knew or was speculating. She merely said they drove up, they drove faster, and she noticed her in the back. That was it. That was the testimony. I don't see where that objection would have come from. Prior, yes, but not this time. This time she said nothing in regards to Arnold's state of mind.
Your Honor, if I heard right, she said that because of such and such, he did so, that causes her to speculate wasn't Arnold mind. Because she said that he did because of such and such, he did this and that. That's not for her to say, that causes speculation.
your objection is sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So as you guys are driving away, where are you going?
we driving through the neighborhood, we have like loops and certain turns that kind of cut you off, and you can go this way, but you can't go this way.
Okay, so you're just driving around.
Yes,
Okay, and are you able to observe Ms. Parks behind you that entire time?
no.
Okay, so what happens?
So we keep driving, and pretty much I want to go back to my sister's house. My sister has kids, I want to make sure they okay. I need to make sure that she's not there, because at that point, I can't tell if she's behind us or not. He had just got tinted windows, so you can't see through them, and it was already nighttime. And we pull back up to my sister's house. We don't see her, so we continue to drive. We go around the block, and pretty much the block wraps around back into the same street. At that point, still don't see her. We're driving past, at this point, it's my mom's house. My mom lives on this end of the street. My sister lives on the other end of the street. We're riding past my mom's house, and boom,
Okay, so when you say boom, what do you mean by that? What happens?
her car, that Jeep Liberty, She had no lights on. She was sitting in the bike path on the side of my mom's house and with no lights on. And when we rolled past, she crashed into the side of the car, into the passenger side. She hit the car.
Okay, and did you see her back driving?
Yes.
Okay. And how did her vehicle hit yours?
She hit the gas when she started driving past.
What part of the car?
The front passenger side,
Okay.
like the front, like that front bumper.
Um, based on where you were driving, was there any other reason, hold on, let me rephrase my question. Were you blocking any street the way you were driving?
No.
And was there any, was someone able to get by you without hitting your car? Would someone have been able to get by you without having to hit your car?
Yes, because where her car was parked at, it's not even a lane for cars to be in, it's a bike path.
Okay,
There's no, it's blocked, it's cut off right there. No cars can come from either way in that area.
okay. And so what happened after Ms. Parks hit the car you were in?
Well, I mean, from the impact, you know, my leg was bleeding. Joseph jumped out of the car like, are you crazy?
Your Honor, I want to object to what Joseph said.
Yeah, don't say
And-
anything that he says,
Okay.
just, you can say what you saw him do, but don't say anything that he said.
Okay, well, he asked me to stay in the car, but, so they're having words or whatever, and she's in the middle of the street at this point.
Do you hear anything she's saying?
Oh, you think you're gonna keep playing with me?
Okay,
That's what she's saying to him. You think you're gonna keep playing with me? I don't know, she said I told you, and that's kind of all I remember right there. He gets back in the car and we kind of like drive up, he drives up a little bit. Before that though, she gets in her car, like after she hit us, she got back in her car and then jumped out again. They exchange words. We move up some, she gets back in her car and drives up some, gets back out. We're sitting in the middle of my block, you know, we're not too far from my mom's house, and at that point, she's like waving her gun and she's saying whatever.
so did you see where Ms. Parks got her gun, where she retrieved it from?
Her car.
Okay.
Because she did go to the car and get something.
Okay, and how would you said waving, can you describe what motions she was making with that gun?
She had the gun and she aimed at the.
So when
at
you're,
the
yeah, you
passenger
have to
side.
describe what you're showing with your arm, yeah,
Okay, so she had the gun in her hand,
okay,
you know, and she's waving it at the windshield.
okay.
Remind you, it's tinted windows, and I mean, I felt threatened, so I'm gonna guess that she was really trying to figure out which side of the
Your
car
Honor,
to
I
come
want to
out.
object to what.
Objection
She-
sustained.
So when she did she also point the gun?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay, and who was she pointing it to?
me, because I was on the passenger side.
Okay, and did she point it at all at Mr. Arnold?
She pointed it at
Yeah.
the driver's side also,
Okay,
and that was right before she walked up on the car and tried to pull on the handle, and then she hit the window,
okay, and what did she hit the window with?
the gun,
Okay, and was she making any statements when she was doing this?
not that I remember.
Okay.
I don't remember.
And what was your thought when she's doing this?
I mean, I was just really thinking either she gonna shoot me, or if the bullet goes somewhere else, it's gonna go to my mom's house. 'Cause my mom's house is right there. Like, we were right by her mom's house. I mean, my mom's house, so. She gonna shoot us, she mad at him. I'm thinking she gonna shoot him, she gonna shoot me too.
Okay. And you mentioned she was tugging at the door handles
Yes,
where the doors closed?
yes, and they were locked.
Okay, and at any point, did you step out of the car?
When the car finally stopped, we couldn't move, like, he didn't wanna drive the car because his bumper was dragging. You know, and pretty much I stepped outside the car, I stayed right by the car, So I stepped outside the car and called 911.
Okay, and where was she at this point? Was her car able to move?
I don't know if it was able to move like that. She kind of just moved her car up a house and she was in the street talking trash.
Okay, and how did that incident end with her, with the gun in front of you guys in the car?
I think once she realized that I was on the phone with the police, she put it back in the car.
Okay. And can you describe what the damage was to the vehicle, to the one that you were in,
Bless you.
if you saw?
Yes, the headlight smashed, the whole front bumper was like dragging. And like the hood was, I mean, the impact was so hard, the hood was popped up. It was still down, but it was like up. and
Okay.
you kind of see it.
And can you describe any injuries that you had from the collision, from the crash?
The only one I really can't remember, honestly, because I previously had a concussion like 7 days before, so I really don't remember. I don't remember if I went to emergency that time, but I just had scrapes like on my knees. My knees were bleeding from the stockings that I had on, and after being hit on the passenger side, like from the impact, my knee went against the door.
Other than, as you stated, Ms. Parks pointing the gun at you, did she make any other threatening statements to you?
Not that I can remember, because I don't really remember what she was saying when she was talking trash. I felt like she just was trying to provoke me because we have a open case where
Okay.
she's not supposed to be in contact with me.
Okay. And this individual that we've been talking about, Ms. Parks, do you see her in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you please identify a piece of clothing that she's wearing?
She got on a black jacket, sweater.
Okay. For the record, the witness has identified the defendant as Ms. Parks.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. One moment. I have no further questions for this witness. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Give me one moment, Ms. Marable. Ms. Marable,
Yes,
you're cross.
thank you. Now, this takes place at what time?
It's actually like almost 11 o'clock maybe at night.
So it's night, it's dark.
Yes.
And what is the lighting conditions in that area?
Well, we were under a street light.
Okay, during the whole event, you was under a street light?
There's a street light in front of my sister's house, and there's a street light at the cross streets by my mom's house.
Okay,
So everything is visible.
but it's still dark, correct? It's nighttime,
Yes.
okay, and it's dark, correct?
I mean, there were street lights.
There were street lights, but even though it's street lights, it's still dark. You agree with me on that?
When you aren't under the street light yet.
Okay, so if you're not under the street light, it's dark.
Your Honor, objection asked and answered 3 times.
Well, I don't think she ever answered, Johnny.
She did.
You can
She said
answer
it
the
was not
question.
dark under the streetlights.
And the question was, if you're not under the streetlights and the other areas is dark.
I'm sorry. Wait one. Mr. Bitar, you ready?
Yes, I am, Judge.
220375 SM, State of Michigan versus Nicole Durkin. Your appearances.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Daniel Batar on behalf of Ms. Durkin.
Ms. Durkin, state your name for the record, please. Officer Evans, you need to unmute her, please.
Is that working, Your Honor?
Thank you. State your name for me, ma'am.
Nicole Durkin.
Today's the day and time for the arraignment in this matter. Mr. Bitar, for purposes of arraignment, what say you, sir?
Your Honor, I've gone over the charge with her. We'll waive a formal reading. Stand mute, please.
Thank you. Ms. Durkin, you have the right to be considered for pretrial release in this matter. The Police Department, Van Buren Township Public Safety indicate that they do not oppose personal bond in this matter and ask only that you have no contact with the victim, Ryan Broughton. This court will set your bond at $5,000 personal. You don't need to post any money, but what you must do is appear at your future court dates and participate in these proceedings. The condition of your bond is that you have no contact with Ryan Broughton. Last name is Broten. Ma'am, no contact means no contact, no direct contact, no contact through social media, no contact through third parties. Understood?
Yes.
Should this court receive information that you've made attempts to contact Mr. Broughton in this matter, it could be viewed as a violation of your bond condition. You can spend the rest of these proceedings in custody. Do you understand?
Yes.
The next step in these proceedings is a pretrial, which will be on June the 14th, 2022 at 9 a.m. in courtroom number 2 with Chief Judge Brian Oakley. Again, Officer Evans, this is 220375 SM. Next appearance date, June 14th, 2022 at 9 a.m. in courtroom number 2 by Zoom. Anything else, Mr. Bitar?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything else, Van Buren?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank
Judge,
you, sir. Take care.
Judge, you know what? I'm sorry. Could I add one thing, please?
No. What do you want, Mr. Bitar? I'm sorry.
No, I would just like the court to note that they have children in common. He's currently at the home. So if she has no issue not having any contact with him, but they may have to have some communication regarding the care and custody of the children.
Andy has done that before. We will put it in the pretrial order that no contact except as is necessary to arrange for child care or custody.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Bitar?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you for hanging around.
You're welcome.
Ms. Durkin, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
220263 FY. We are getting the distinction of what's light and dark, under the light, not under the light. She was going to answer your question further.
Okay, I'm gonna move on.
Thank you.
So, in this, you and Mr. Arnold are at your sister's house, correct? And at some point, y'all leave, correct? Yes. Okay. And you say that at some point, you don't see Ms. Parks, right? Okay, so y'all still driving around the neighborhood and you don't see Ms. Parks at all, correct?
Because I never looked back again,
Okay, and you never look back because of what?
because at that point I was crouched down in the seat.
Okay. Now, you're driving somewhere and you say that, Ms. Parks hits your car, hits the car that you're in, correct? Okay. But you're driving down the street And the car comes from where?
From my right side.
From-
On the bike,
from your
on
right
the
side.
bike path, yes.
Okay. At the time that the car is hit, the car is still able to move, correct?
The car I was in?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Y'all go to the side,
Not really.
but you stay there.
Mhm.
Yes or no?
Yes,
It's
Now-
only because she's taking it down.
yes.
Now, you and Ms. Parks have an ongoing case where you're charged with attempted.
Your Honor, objection.
Yeah, the witness has talked about the ongoing case with her and Ms. Parks at least 4 times during direct examination, at least 4 times. It goes to motive, Your Honor.
But not the specifics of the case, and I did not inquire anything in regards to that case. I don't see why it's relevant to these proceedings. For motive, is it what, that she's made up this entire incident, she was not in fact there? I don't see how at all it's relevant to any other proceeding, especially if it does not go to her truth or honesty.
Well, I guess if I was able to ask the question, the only thing I asked was, you and Ms. Parks have an ongoing case, and that was it.
Well, you were getting into the details of that case, and that's why I objected.
She wasn't, your objection is overruled. Ms. Boyd has been cautioned before about answering beyond what's asked. And I understand your objection. It sounds like they might be going there, but now that we've had this conversation, I'm sure Ms. Merrill will be very deliberate in the questions she asked Ms. Boyd.
Thank you, Your Honor. So you're currently charged with attempt to commit murder against Ms. Parks, correct?
No.
What are you charged with? Why are you looking at the prosecutor?
Well, Judge, that was my objection, is that she was stating what the charge was. I don't know, we're getting into the specifics of a charge that has nothing to do with her truth or honesty of.
Wait. So your objection is that your witness, who has already indicated, I don't think it's 4 times, I thought it was twice, that there was already a case between them,
Yes.
that your witness is going to provide what is public record. That's your objection.
Well, no, I think it's going into then what is going to be the relevance of what it matters if she's charged with, if it has nothing to do with her honesty or truthfulness. It's not a retail fraud charge or conviction. I don't see the relevance of it. Her bringing up an ongoing case, that case could be anything. She did not go into the specifics of it. Now, defense counsel is going into the specifics of that case, and I just don't see why that's relevant.
I guarantee you, I will not let her go into the specifics of the case. She asked her, was her charge a certain thing? Ms. Boyd says no. The question was, well, what was the charge? And if your witness's response is, I don't know the charge, I'm sure that defense counsel has something that will tell the court what the charge is. We can get there the hard way or the easy way. It doesn't matter to me. I'm here.
Okay.
So the question was,
Okay, what is your charge?
I have to. It is, attempt to something with great bodily harm and attempt to something with the deadly weapon.
Okay, it's attempted murder with great bodily harm, correct?
That's honestly, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I just don't like the end of it.
But you are charged with it.
No,
correct?
I have not been charged. This is pending.
It's pending.
Yes.
So do you know what charges mean?
No.
Okay,
No.
you have been charged with it, you had a preliminary exam, correct?
Yes.
And you're now at Frank Murphy, correct? You're going to court for it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Park is the victim in that particular case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you're upset about that charge, correct? You don't want to be in the criminal justice system, correct?
I mean, I'm not upset though.
Okay.
It's not like I did it. She called the police on me.
Ma'am.
I came to where I was and called the police on me.
Judge, and
I'm going to ask you to move on, and I'm going to suggest to you that you not say anything else about that case. I think we've gone far enough.
I'm gonna move on. Okay. So it's to your benefit that Ms. Parks has charges on her to help you on your case, correct?
No,
Okay.
because I was explained to that this
Ma'am.
case doesn't have nothing to do with it.
Okay. Now, you say that Ms. Parks' car hit the car that you're in. right? It hits what? The driver's side?
No, the passenger side.
Okay. But in your statement, you made a written statement, correct?
Yes.
And on the time that you make the written statement, incident had just happened, correct?
Yes.
So would you say that your memory was better then? Would you say your memory was better then at the time that you make the written statement? Or at the time, today?
I mean, I feel like it's the same.
Okay. In your written statement, didn't you say that you were the driver?
Yes.
Didn't you just say that the car hit the passenger side?
Yes.
Okay. So the car never hit you because if you're the driver and it hit the passenger side, it hit on the other side, right?
The car did hit me because I was the passenger.
Okay, but once again, you made a statement, correct?
Yes.
And in your statement, would you like to read it over?
No, I don't want to read it over.
Okay, but in your statement on that night, you said that you're the driver, correct?
Okay.
Okay, so you agree that if you're the driver, then it conflicts with what your statement was today, correct? Because in your statement that you made that night, you said that you're the driver, correct?
Correct.
And today your testimony was that it hit the passenger side, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that conflicts, correct?
That's sure, that's what you.
Okay, so are you telling the truth today or were you telling the truth that night?
I'm under oath today. I'm telling the truth today. I was the passenger. And the only reason why I said that I was the driver is because Mr. Arnold has things, on his background that we didn't want, well, I didn't want him to get in trouble for at the time of the scene.
So you openly lied to a police officer that night?
I don't know. Well, I never talked to a police officer when I made my statement. I wrote it on the paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just, I want you to say what happened, let's be truthful. So therefore, even though you know that something's not truthful, correct? When you sit down with the police, because the police took your witness statement, correct? There was an officer took your witness statement.
Yeah.
Okay, so even though you knew something was not truthful, when you sat down with the police officer, you just made.
I never sat down with the police officer.
Okay, then tell the court, how do you get a written statement? First of all, may I approach your honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this your signature?
Yes.
Okay, so this is your signature, correct?
Yes, and that's my handwriting.
And that's your handwriting.
Isn't it?
So tell me, so how did this statement get to the police?
They collected it after they were dealing with her.
Okay,
I
they
never.
collected it from you, correct?
Yeah.
So a civilian didn't give it to you, a police officer asked you to write down what happened, correct?
Right.
And even though a police officer had asked you to write down what happened, the police officer didn't say, please just lie, correct?
Right.
He didn't say be untruthful, correct? He said, write down to the best of your knowledge what happened. And it's implied to be truthful, correct?
Correct.
And you wasn't truthful, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you lie a lot?
No.
Okay. But you do lie a lot when it comes to Ms. Parks.
Or when it comes to Mr. Arnold, because.
Okay, so with Ms. Parks,
That was the whole reason.
so with anything dealing with Ms. Parks and Ms. Arnold, you
Mr.
agree that you do lie.
No, with Mr. Arnold.
Okay.
I simply tried to keep him out of trouble because he has children in the house.
Okay. Now, in your direct examination, you say that the windows are tinted in this car, correct? So you can't see looking in,
Correct.
but you can see looking out.
Correct.
Okay. So it's fair to say if a person can't see looking in,
Correct.
the person doesn't know who is sitting where or who's in the car, correct? Okay. And nowhere in your statement or in your direct examination, if she has the gun, is calling your name or anything like that, correct?
Calling my name? No.
Yeah, okay. So if you agree with me that she can't see in, she wouldn't necessarily know that you're in the car, correct? Because you can't see in the car. Because you pointed out that it has tinted windows and you can't see in, correct?
Can't-
It has
you
tinted
can't
windows.
see in, but I'm pretty sure she's smart enough to know why he was in the driveway,
You
because
can't
I was
say
there.
Okay, you can't see in, correct?
Correct.
So you don't know if she knew you was in the car or not, because you're not in her mind, correct? You're not a mind reader, correct?
Not a mind reader, no.
Okay, now, she never called your name with the gun or anything, right?
No.
Okay, one other thing too that's interesting is, you tell the police that the gun was shot that night,
No, I
correct?
didn't, no.
Okay. You never told the police that?
No, I did not.
So, let me ask you this, so at some point, Ms. Parks, after this alleged incident, goes and sits in her car, correct? But she stands outside of her car, correct?
At which point?
After the alleged crash.
After.
In
after
other
she
words, when the
crashed,
police arrive, where's Ms. Parks at?
At that point, she's sitting in her car, pretty much waiting on them to get there. She tried to pull off, but I'm guessing her car wouldn't move.
Okay, we don't want you to guess, because once again, this is a court of law, we don't want you to guess. At the time that the police come, she's sitting in her car, correct?
Yes.
She's not arguing with Mr. Arnold, correct?
Not anymore, no.
Okay. And she's not arguing with you,
Not anymore, no.
because she doesn't even know if you're there or not, correct?
Yes, she does.
Okay, she knows you're there, so when you're outside, when you say you get outside to call the police, right? You're at the side of the car, correct?
Yes.
You're calling the police, correct?
Yes, when she gets.
She never approaches you.
She walked up, but she didn't get close. And then she
Okay,
walked back.
so she didn't get close to you,
No,
and she never pointed the gun at you at that time, correct?
not at that time, no, not.
And
when I
she
was outside.
never threatened you or called you any names, like,
I don't remember that.
okay. So we want to know what you remember. You're outside the car, correct?
Okay.
And you say that she doesn't get close to you, correct?
Correct.
She doesn't interfere, she doesn't stop you from interfering with calling the police, because clearly some people can see you on the phone, correct?
Correct.
She doesn't call you any names.
That I'm not sure of, because she said my name. The whole neighborhood heard her say my name.
But would you say the whole day?
The whole neighborhood.
Okay.
When
So,
she got out of her car after she crashed, she went in the middle of the street and had a rant. And when I got out of the car on the phone with the police, that's when she was saying my name, like, oh, Brianna. I don't know if she told me to be quiet, like I said, I don't remember, but she said my
but to be
name.
quiet,
As
she would have.
as she was talking to me.
Okay, but to be quiet, you would have been saying anything.
No, I was speaking to Mr. Arnold.
You was talking to Mr. Arnold?
Yes, telling him to
Okay.
get back in the car, the police were on the way.
Okay. Okay. So you don't remember, but there was no shots fired that particular day, correct?
Like I said, I don't know. I didn't see fire coming from the gun.
Okay.
I thought that's what it meant. Like if a shot was let off, I thought you would see like fire or something.
But you didn't see that?
I don't know.
Okay, no more questions.
Thank you. Any redirects?
Yes, just a couple of questions. Ms. Boyd, can you clarify why, when the police arrived and you wrote a written statement, why you told the police that you were the driver?
Well, at that time.
I'm sorry, can the prosecution repeat that question? I'm sorry, I was
No, that's okay. Yes, I said, can you please clarify why when the police arrived and you wrote a statement that you stated that you were the driver?
Yes, honestly, I thought they were gonna take Joseph to jail. He has a warrant, like he's on probation or whatever, violated probation, and obviously, if he was the driver, they probably would have ran his name or whatever, and he would have went to jail. That's what I mean.
Okay, so was it your intention to protect Mr. Arnold?
I guess at the time,
And then today, you're under oath, and so what you're saying today, is that a true recollection of what happened that evening?
yeah, I mean, I have I'm not a bad conscience, but I knew what I wrote on the statement. And before I even, for the past 2 days, I've been having like anxiety, like, you know, he could try to use that against me, anything. I don't know if they're in contact, like any of that. So today I took the oath and it was to tell the truth.
Okay, thank you. And where do you live?
I live in Romulus.
Okay, do you live near your sister's address?
Yeah, I'm going to object to that line of questioning. It's outside of direct examination. I mean, it's outside of cross-examination. I never asked about where she lived or any of that. She can only ask questions that were inside of cross-examination.
I will be getting to that. I wanted to make sure I laid a foundation in order for me to get to my my response to her cross.
She can only ask questions that were asked with my cross-examination. I never asked like where she lived or anything about that. So it's outside of cross-examination.
I don't disagree on getting to that.
Defense, I was gonna say defense counsel is correct. I'm just curious where you're going. Can you-
So, because on cross-examination, it was discussed whether or not Ms. Parks knew Ms. Boyd was in the car and in regards to the tinted windows. So I am getting to the point of where Ms. Boyd was in relation to her sister's home and why Ms. Parks would have known of Ms. Boyd's presence in that vehicle.
That would cause speculation. Nowhere in direct examination, in our cross-examination, did I ask any of those questions. And for the way that she asked me, it caused speculation. It caused speculation for Ms. Parks, it caused speculation for this particular witness.
I haven't asked anything that would require speculation yet.
Your objection is overruled, ma'am. You may answer the question. Where do you live is the question.
I live in Romulus on Colorado Street at 5932 Colorado Street.
And is that near your sister's residence?
Yes, that's my mom's house.
Okay. And does, if you know, does Ms. Parks know where you live?
Yeah,
Yeah.
objection, that would cause for speculation, that would cause for her to speculate what's in Ms. Parks' mind.
There's ways for her to know if Ms. Parks knows where she lives without that.
But there's a different way for you to ask that question. Do you know if Ms. Parks knows that, there's no way that she could know that Ms. Parks knows that Ms. Boyd lives at that
Okay.
particular address on Colorado?
So how does Ms. Parks know where you reside?
No, same, nope.
Objection.
Or, sorry, I meant to say, how do you know?
Can we approach?
Absolutely.
So my question is, I agree, the second one, I didn't phrase it correctly. I was just gonna ask, how does she know how Miss Parks knows where she is? Because she can say that it's because maybe of the whatever order, or if they've been to the residence, or if Miss Parks has driven by.
You ask
don't
it
want-
that way then. You don't
But
ask.
then I don't want her to object to say that I'm needing to ask if you tell me. Well, depending on how you ask, I'm not gonna say anything, but if you can't say it's not respectful. It doesn't matter.
How long have you known Ms. Parks for?
Her,
Yeah.
I don't really know her, 2022, I don't know, like, I guess, I wanna say, I guess since like 2019, I think December of 2019, or it might be 18.
So a couple years at least.
Yeah,
Has she ever been to your residence?
yes,
She has?
yes.
Okay.
I haven't picked Joseph up from my mom's house.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you live with your mom?
Yeah.
At that, okay, at that address, okay. Do you know, when you were in the car with Joseph, did he ever share his location with Ms. Parks?
Yes.
Okay. And did Joseph ever share, who he was with Ms. Parks on that evening?
I don't recall, because like I said, he never answered the phone. for her.
Okay, I have no further questions, thank you.
No follow. Thank you. Ms. Boyd, thank you for your testimony. This afternoon, you may step down. Thank you, ma'am. Your next witness?
Does the people call Officer Cartina?
I wasn't trying to be short with Mr. Attar. I thought I was being funny, but he was super irritated. I'll have to apologize to him too. Good afternoon, sir. Could you state your first and last name and then spell it for the record?
Officer Michael Cardenas, Michael Cardenas.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Is this your first time testifying in court?
For 34th District, I testified for 36 people.
Okay. Would you come up here, please have a seat in this chair? Mary Ann will be taking down your testimony. If for some reason she can't hear you, I'll ask you to either raise your voice or pull the microphone closer, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Your witness, ma'am.
Thank you. Officer, I'm sorry, can you state your name again for the record?
Officer Cardenas.
Are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
And where are you employed at?
Romulus Police Department.
What do you do for the department?
I am a full-time police officer.
And what is your role? Like specifically?
Answer calls for service, patrol and enforce criminal law for the state of Michigan and the city of Romulus.
And how long have you been a police officer for?
About 7 months here, total about 1.5 years.
Where were you prior to this?
Detroit Police Department.
I'm gonna take you back to April 3rd. Do you recall responding to a call at 5932 Colorado Avenue?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the nature of that call?
It initially came out as a shots fired, shots heard.
Okay. And when you responded, did you respond alone?
No, myself and my other colleagues all arrived at the same time.
Okay. Were you on duty that day on April 3rd?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Were you in your uniform that you're wearing today?
Yes, ma'am.
And what vehicle did you arrive at or arrive with?
A fully marked patrol car.
Once you arrived to that location, what was your role there?
We were first directed to the suspect or the offender at the time. Kind of secure the scene, extract her away from the vehicle, bring her into custody. And that was pretty much it at the time.
Okay, so did you in fact make contact with the offender at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to identify who she was?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall her name?
Miss Sparks.
Okay, and do you see Ms. Parks in the courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please identify what she's wearing?
A black shirt, or I don't know what it's called, the specific name, but black coat.
Okay. For the record, the witness has identified Ms. Parks as the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
When you went to speak to Ms. Parks, or sorry, when you went to go to Ms. Parks, what was your interaction like with her?
She was by the driver's side of the vehicle. She seemed a little confused, a little bit. We gave her all of us together gave various commands for her to face away from us, step back a little bit, standard felony stop. She got down on her knees, placed her in handcuffs. I believe I grabbed the left arm. Someone else grabbed the right arm. She went into custody without incident.
Okay, and you said she was standing by the driver's side of the vehicle. Do you remember what vehicle that was?
It was a dark colored, like Jeep Liberty.
Okay. Could you see or observe any damage to that vehicle?
No, I just remember seeing like fluids like under it a little bit. Like I couldn't see the damage because it was on the other side, but it wasn't operating.
Okay. At some point, did you photograph the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. Do you remember what you observed of the vehicle?
There was damage to the front passenger side of the vehicle.
And you said the vehicle was not operative? Did you just say
No, I
that?
didn't think it was on.
Sorry, say that again?
I don't think it was on.
Okay. When you secured Ms. Parks in handcuffs, did she make any statements to you in regards to a possible weapon?
I asked her where the gun was,
And what was her response?
that it was still in the car.
Were you able to retrieve a gun?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you retrieve that gun from?
On the passenger side of the second row of seats. So the middle, I don't know if the Jeep Liberty has 3 rows total, so I'll call it the second row underneath the passenger seat.
Okay. And what did you do when you saw her retrieve the gun from the car?
Before I moved it, I photographed it. Before I even went up to the car, I do remember I asked her either before I went up to the car or just shortly after, I asked her if she had a CPL. She informed me she didn't, gave the reason why she believed she didn't need a CPL. And that was that.
Okay. And she didn't present any identification in regards to having a possible CPL, correct?
No.
Can you describe what the weapon looked like that you observed in the vehicle?
It's like a subcompact Taurus pistol.
And what color was it?
The grip was black, but I don't remember what the color of the slide was.
Okay. And what photographs did you take of that weapon?
I took photographs of as it was before I moved it, took it out of the vehicle, put it on the hood, took photographs as it before I cleared the chamber. It didn't have a magazine in it at the time. Photographed the serial numbers, all sides of it. I cleared it. One was in the chamber, it fell to the ground. Photographed the round that came out and the rest of the fire at that point.
Okay, so there was a round in the chamber?
There was a round in the chamber.
And then were you able to locate the magazine?
Yes,
Where was that?
in the glove compartment.
Okay. Okay, I have no other questions for this witness. Thank you.
Thank you. Ross, ma'am.
So are you the first one to get to the scene?
We literally all arrived at the same time, ma'am.
Okay, but your dispatch call was what? Shots fired, correct?
The CAD notes that shots fired.
Okay, and when you go to a scene where shots are fired, you're more cautious?
Yes,
Okay. So, you get there and why do you go to Ms. Parks before you go to the other vehicle?
because the other vehicle, she directed us to her.
Okay.
We came, if you'd like to continue.
But my question is, you have the dispatch is shots fired, correct?
Correct,
So you thinking that somebody is shooting, correct?
correct.
Okay. You have two vehicles when you get there that you can see, correct?
Correct.
How do you make determination of who's the offender? Because wouldn't you go to both vehicles to investigate?
My decision-making was somewhere along the lines, there was a description from the person that called about which vehicle.
So you base how you act upon the dispatch call, correct?
Yes, the CAD notes.
Okay, so you're looking at your CAD notes, shots fired, because y'all went and basically searched for, what is it you call it when you shoot a gun? When you shoot a gun, what comes out of it?
A spent cartridge?
Did you find any?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So was it your determination that no gun was fired that night?
No, I didn't personally find any
Okay.
cartridge.
Did you ever ask the complainant about a gun being fired? You, yourself?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So basically, based upon the dispatch, you go straight to Ms. Parks because the person that's calling has given a description of her car, correct?
That's not correct, ma'am.
Okay, what's correct? Correct.
In combination with that, and when we pulled up, we were directed by the complainant.
Okay, so based upon the phone call and the last complainant who's making the phone call, based upon that, you take that as true and you go to Ms. Parks,
Yes, ma'am.
right? But you never ever investigated the complainant, correct? Because she's making the phone call. Is that the reason why you didn't investigate her?
I personally didn't, ma'am.
Okay, so you go to Ms. Parks and you say that she was she dazed and not comprehending or what?
When she originally was facing us, so she had a little bit of issue with following that direction, but I think it was just more so a brief moment of confusion than not
So
wanting to
she
listen.
seemed confused too.
I would imagine that happens to someone for a couple of seconds when you have 4 police cars with lights on, yes.
Okay, now this is the question. When you approach her, you're approaching her on foot, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she in or outside of the car?
She's outside of the car, ma'am.
She's outside of the car, right? So you're looking at her like I'm looking at you right now, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say that she looks confused. Does she look confused or dazed or what?
Slightly confused.
Okay. But she follows all of your directions.
I had to repeat myself to say face away from us, but other than that, yes.
Okay. Now, at some point, you search the car, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she give you permission to search the car?
I don't recall, ma'am.
Okay, you don't recall if you get a police report, that would be important, don't you think?
Yes, ma'am, and if she did, it'd be documented in it.
Okay, you have your police report, correct?
Not with me.
Okay. May I approach you, Anna?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this your report?
Ma'am, this portion right here is not mine. You'd have to find, this is Shank. Sorry, mine might be in here. 1 second. These ones aren't mine, ma'am.
You have it? I do, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Does she ever give you permission to enter the car? Cause she's outside of, you agree with me, she's outside of the car, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I did. She did give me permission.
She gave you permission?
Yes, ma'am. according
And
to
that
this
would be
report.
on your body cam, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if she gives you permission, does she tell you where the gun is at?
She did tell me where it was. I don't recall exactly where she said it was in the general area.
So at that point, you put her in cuffs and you arrest her, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any interaction with the alleged victim in this case? Do you talk to them?
No, ma'am.
You don't talk to them at all or interact with them at all, correct?
No, ma'am.
So all of your interaction that particular day was with Ms. Parks, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you said that Ms. Parks allowed you to search that car. And I looked at the video.
Yes,
It's not on there that about her giving you permission to search the car. Are you sure that she gave you permission?
I'm 100% positive, ma'am.
Okay.
I believe it's another.
Is there?
I'm sorry, you believe what?
It's in other officer supplements as well, ma'am.
Thank you.
But it's not on, you had your camera on that particular day, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And at the time that you have the camera on, you're looking at Ms. Parks, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you're looking at Ms. Parks, when the camera's on and you're talking to Ms. Parks, if you asked her, it should be on there, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So if it's not, can you explain it?
Are you sure I didn't say, can I go get the firearm from the vehicle? That would be essentially the same thing as, can I?
No, you don't, you asked about a firearm, but you never asked her, where is that? Or can you retrieve it? Correct?
I did, ma'am.
Okay, because if she didn't give permission, you would need a warrant for that car, correct?
It would have been inevitable.
Okay, no, you're not a lawyer, right? You're not a
No.
lawyer, correct?
That is correct.
If she does not give you permission, wouldn't you need a warrant, correct?
No.
Okay, why wouldn't you need a warrant?
Judge,
It
now I
would've-
think we're getting in, I'm gonna object to, she just made it clear he's not a lawyer, and so she's asking him to make a legal conclusion. He's already stated that he, based on his own recollection, got permission from her.
Okay, so I can follow up. Okay, if she did not give you permission, why would you go into the car without permission?
Judge, objection. He
No.
didn't say that she went into or that he went into the car without
I
permission.
said-
Now we're getting into scenarios that didn't happen.
She has the footage too, and I'm quite sure you didn't look at it. That he never asked permission to go into the car. But this is the question. He said inevitable discovery. I'm just thinking about what is his procedure? Where is he getting this from? Can I ask that particular question?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So if she does not give you permission, you would have to ask for a warrant, correct?
No.
Okay, why not?
Under 252D, I had a reason to believe it was used in a crime. It would have been inventory. It was parked illegally. It would have been inventory searched
Okay.
regardless.
But at that particular point that you're talking to Ms. Parks, right? At the time that you're talking to Ms. Parks,
Yes.
right? It's not being inventory, correct? You go in before the inventory, correct?
It doesn't.
This is a yes
Can you
or no
repeat your question?
question.
Can you repeat your
This is
question?
the question.
Yes.
Listen and follow. At the time that you talked to Ms. Parks, the car has not been inventoried, correct?
That's not correct.
Okay, so at the time that you went, so now you're saying that the time that you went into the car, you was inventorying, you was doing inventory?
It would have been towed, yes.
No, that's not the question.
Yes,
At the
the answer
time
to your
that you
question is
went
yes.
into the car, were you doing an inventory search? Is it yes or no question? You know what, you know
Yes.
what an inventory. Okay, so you was doing an inventory search?
Yes,
Okay, so the testimony that you made previously is not true because the inventory search is different than permission. You agree with that, correct? Because when somebody give you permission, that's different. A warrant is different and an inventory search is different, correct?
correct.
At the time that you went into that car, were you doing permission, warrant, or inventory? Or you don't know?
I would say both.
Okay. My last one. You do know that you can't do both at the same time. How can you do both at the same time?
Would you like me to
Because
answer that
the
question?
inventory
Well,
search,
do you want him to answer the question?
well, no, I'm gonna rephrase. An inventory search is after a person is arrested and the car is being towed and you do an inventory, correct?
Yes,
That's
it can
right.
be.
And if you yourself is doing an inventory search, there's a form that you use, right? Because you say, look, they got this radio in it, it's a purse there, it's this and that. Because the purpose of the inventory search is to make sure that the person doesn't claim that something's stolen, correct?
Correct.
But you yourself never filled out an inventory sheet, correct?
No,
Okay. So it's fair to say that you're saying now that you did an inventory search, but you didn't fill out an inventory sheet to say what was in the car, what wasn't in the car, correct?
correct.
Okay. No more questions, Ms. Witness.
Any redirect?
No.
Officer, thank you for your testimony this afternoon. You may step down, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Your next witness, ma'am.
Judge, if you have no other witnesses, thank you.
Any witness for the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Argument, ma'am.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, the people respectfully request to have counts 1 through 7 bound over for purposes of preliminary exam. Going through the counts, even though the other complainant, Joseph Arnold, was not present, the people believe that the fact that Ms. Boyd was present and witnessed the assault on both of them, that is sufficient enough, especially at this point, for probable cause to move forward on her testimony alone. Because like, as I mentioned, she was present and was able to confirm that both Mr. Arnold and herself were in the vehicle, that Ms. Parks intentionally hit their vehicle with hers. They were both in the vehicle at that time, which would qualify count 1 and count 2 with the assault with a dangerous weapon, that weapon being, of course, a vehicle. And then counts 3 and 4, again, Ms. Boyd testified to the fact that Ms. Parks came outside of her vehicle, was waving the gun, pointing the gun at both of them in the vehicle. That, again, they're both in the vehicle, the gun is being pointed at them, that there were words exchanged between Mr. Arnold and Ms. Parks. And therefore, those 2 counts as well would be satisfied for a bind over. The felony firearm would, of course, carry with those 2 counts. And then lastly, the carrying of concealed weapon. Mr. Cardenas testified to retrieving that weapon in Ms. Parks's vehicle, that Ms. Parks made statements to Mr. Cardenas of not having a license to carry, and that she in fact had no identification for a license to carry, that he had asked her then, that she had indicated that she did not have one. And so based on the testimony given, the people believe that we have met our burden for probable cause purposes to have these counts bound over. Sorry, 1 second, let me make sure I did it. That is all, thank you.
Thank you.
If I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, assault is essentially a state of mind, crime. It's the person that is experiencing what's their state of mind, were they scared, were they frightened, or whatever. Without his testimony, the court would have to assume that the prosecution is asking you to assume that he was frightened, he was scared, because assault is, you have to be in apprehension of your, you have to be in apprehension of immediate battery. So without him actually testifying, I think that number 3 and number 1 has to be thrown out, because there's nothing to show that his state of mind. And I know that this record has been kind of like all over the place, but clearly he did testify, so you don't know if this is what they normally do, if this is their normal interaction, was he scared, was he frightened, or what? And anything else would be assumption. Number 2 and number 4, you do have testimony on it. One of the other things about this particular case is I have looked at that video. They never asked her permission to go into that car. And I don't know if it's best for me to do the motion here or if it's better downtown, is that without them having permission, they were supposed to get a warrant to go in that car. So I think that the carrying concealed weapon goes out too. But I think that there's probable cause for count 2, count 4, and count 8 as it relates to Ms. Brianne Boyd. But with count 6 as it relates to Mr. Arnold, it would have to be just Mr. Felony firearm would go along with the felonious assault. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything else, ma'am?
Yes, just to follow up, Judge, I think the act has to cause a reasonable person to fear or apprehend a battery or an immediate battery or assault. And so I don't believe that we would need Mr. Arnold's testimony to indicate that. It's what would a reasonable person, given the circumstances of the assault that occurred, meaning the person crashing into the car intentionally and then waving a weapon, would that cause a reasonable person to fear or apprehend a battery? And I believe the testimony does establish that.
Thank you. The court has had the opportunity to listen to the testimony this morning of both the civilian witness and the officer, and will find that the people have met their burden as to counts 2, 4, 6, and 7 as relates to Miss Brianna Boyd. Ms. Parks will be bound over to the circuit court. The next step in these proceedings will be an arraignment on the information at the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. That will be on the June 6th, 2022 at 9 a.m. Your previously entered bond with any conditions will continue. Anything else on behalf of the people?
No, that is all. Thank you.
Anything else on behalf of Ms. Parks?
Okay, you're binding over on
Count 2, which is the assault with dangerous weapon as to Ms. Boyd. Count 4, that was the vehicle. Count 4, which is the assault on Brianna Boyd with the firearm. Count 6, felony firearm. The 5 and 6 don't differentiate if they're Mr. Arnold or Ms. Boyd, but in as much as he's been odd, we'll just assume that 5 is odd as to him, but 6 as to her. And count 7 can be carrying concealed weapon.
okay.
2, 4, 6, and 7. You said 8, but there is no 8.
Okay, now, Your Honor, I have explained to my client, you may be able to explain it, that the court only has jurisdiction over her, so they can't stop Ms. Boyd or Joseph Arnold from getting in touch with her. She has some text messages of them trying to contact her. I don't know if the court wants to address that. I had to explain to her that you don't have any jurisdiction over them, you only have jurisdiction over her. And that no matter what, when they do try to contact her,
Your attorney is correct. This court only has jurisdiction over you for the life of this case, and that's going to end now that the matter is being bound over the circuit court. If there is a no contact order in place on another case, that's something that's taken up in that court in that case. But I'm sure that Madam Prosecutor will have a conversation with her witness.
It's more so Mr. Arnold.
yeah.
He appears where I am, contacts my parents, all my family, friends, emails me, the whole 9 yards.
You have a child in common, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to continue for some years to come. You picked them, not me.
And I had told her that she would go to family court on that.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anything else? Thank you much. Good luck. Good afternoon, everyone.
Judge, can I ask, earlier on the other case that we just did, was that set for the same arraignment? Are they all on the 6th? 'Cause I
They
missed that
do. If
one.
they're not in custody, it's 2 weeks from today. If they're in custody, it's 1 week.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Thank you.